Take her away, Ian.
Yeah, take it away, Ernie. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Fell over? What you fell over for?
Out for a little walk in the moonlight.
7:30. Where were we at 7:30?
I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
Turn to page 394.
You foul, loathsome, evil little cockroach!
I didn't mean to.
Mischief managed.
You and your bloody chicken.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for listening to Retold, a Harry Potter podcast, the show where I retell you my favorite story of all time, Harry Potter. Every single episode, I go through 2 chapters of the book at a time, and after every chapter retelling, we have some bonus sections filled with trivia, or 4 is the trivia, but after the chapter coverage, we have deep lore, behind-the-scenes things, transfigurations, and at the very end of the episode, we have our restricted section. Ooh. But I never do this journey alone. With me today, I have the one, the only, Tony, also known as AguamentiYT of YouTube and Instagram fame. Tony, how's it going?
Thank you for the amazing introduction. It's going very good.
Good.
I'm happy to be here with you and discussing the chapters for Prisoner. This is awesome.
Yeah, I am incredibly honored to have you on. We just got to talk for a little bit. We've messaged some on Instagram. In my world, I'm kind of new to the Pottergram, but when I look at like the big dogs of the Pottergram, I kind of picture you up there. Like you're one of the more famous people in my mind. So
that's very flattering because I'm fairly new as well. In terms of like, I just started like taking Instagram serious maybe like 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. But yeah, one thing led to another, where some videos did really well and people started paying attention to me, I guess.
Very cool. Well, tell us a little bit about your page and your YouTube.
Yeah, so on YouTube, I started doing news videos, just putting together news stories all together in one video. Mm-hmm. It eventually turned into doing like unboxings and normal stuff for Harry Potter. Yeah. And I kind of shifted to Instagram to do more news videos, individual stories for reels. Same thing with TikTok. And essentially just news, merch, and events. That's how I start my videos. Mm-hmm. Like that's what I cover. Basically anything Harry Potter that I think is like I would want to know about. That's what I talk about. Yeah, that's one of the secrets that people tell me is make content that you yourself would want to interact with. Yep. And listeners, I highly recommend you check out his Instagram and his YouTube. I'll leave links for it in the episode description. But one thing that I love about your channel, especially when I see the news update ones, is like it's very direct, very succinct. It's almost like a news flash, you know. Yeah. And I enjoy listening to it. It's very well done, very professional, high quality stuff. So thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for the content. I really enjoy listening to it. At the moment, I like, you know, where we have my wife's pregnant, you know, we're expecting a child, we're saving up, getting everything ready, you know, so but thank you. But, you know, money's a little tight, and it's like I had to pull back my subscriptions on some things, you know. And I was one day, Instagram said, when I was looking at your reel, I like clicked the button and then it said premium content available. And I was like, I want to see it.
Oh man.
What kind of stuff is on that premium content?
Yeah. So originally I started using that premium feature so that way people could place orders with me like as if I was their personal shopper. Mm-hmm. So that would essentially be like the fee for me to go out and get something.
Oh, okay.
What the main draw is that I live like 15 minutes from Universal Studios Hollywood. So
I already hate you.
Every year, twice a year, they do a huge monster sale up to 90% off of like all their merchandise. And it's like hidden inside one of the parking garages. So it's kind of like an invite only, or if you know type of deal.
That's sick.
So I make my way over there and I take orders for everybody. Like, hey, do you guys want this? I like send pictures in my little channel, and then hey, do you want this? You want this? And people reply like, oh, I want 5. I want 1. I want whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like doing personal shopping. So
that's genius.
Yeah. During those 2 like times, it's like sometime in the beginning of the year and then sometime towards the end of the year that they do it. And that's when like the subscriptions go up.
Yeah.
but other than that, it's mainly just like behind the scenes kind of content. So like if we're doing this right, I'll just be like, hey, I'm preparing for this podcast, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I didn't do that for this time just because I was like coming home like real quick. But I also have been working on behind me. I have my Harry Potter room. It's a temporary room, but I haven't had one for a while, and I've gotten the chance recently to bring it back, took my stuff out of storage, and so little by little just been sharing the steps that I've been taking to build the room, like the wallpaper, framing stuff, setting up my shelves. So realistically, I don't know how much you can see of it, but you're probably the first person to see it.
It's gorgeous.
Kind of finished. Thank you.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, so if people wanted to look you up, it's AguamentiYT on both YouTube and Instagram.
So on YouTube, it's just AguamentiYT. AguamentiYT.
Very
and
good.
then on everything else, it's at AguamentiYT.
There you go. So listeners, check that out. Give them some love. And now, what I do every single episode, Tony, is I ask people their fandom ID, which means, we want to know what your Hogwarts house is, your favorite book, your favorite movie, and how you got into Harry Potter. So take it away.
All right. So I'm a Gryffindor, and I would say that my favorite book is Order of the Phoenix, mostly because I feel like that's around the time that I was finally allowed to go and experience midnight release. So that has like sentimental value in there.
That's cool that you got to go. You went to the midnight release of that.
Yeah, like from then on, like I was able to go to like the midnight releases.
Wow,
so that was like really special to me because that was the first time I was like, that has ever happened to like in my knowledge. And for me as a kid to go and like be up at midnight, and for something that I was excited for, I was oh, that's awesome.
I feel like too with midnight release for books.
Yeah.
That's already a very rare thing. Yeah. I was listening to Mugglecast, and they were talking about like, is there anything else that really had the power of a midnight book release? They mentioned like Twilight, but it still wasn't even that big, like the parties for it at the bookstores. Yeah. I feel like maybe eventually maybe in an alternate timeline, when the 6th Game of Thrones book finally comes out or something, that might have something. But yeah, the Harry Potter book midnight release is just very unique place in history.
Very, very cool. Like, and just I think like almost every bookshop was doing something, right? So I was going to the only bookshop that was really like close to me was Barnes and Noble. So it was a little more corporate, but it was still pretty fun. Like there was lots of people that showed up, so that was a fun time.
Awesome.
Also, Order of the Phoenix also features my birthday in it. It's the date of Harry's hearing. So
no way.
That's a little extra. I was like, what? They put my birthday in there?
Very good. That's cool.
Yeah. And then I would say Prisoner is also kind of up there too, especially for the big twist, not to give anything away. And let me see, what else?
Your favorite movie, I guess?
Favorite movie, I would say Prisoner. It's just such a good movie. It's so beautiful, like aesthetically and everything. Everything just works for me.
Yeah, it's Alfonso Cuarón directed the crap out of that movie.
Yeah, it's so good.
And the final one is, how did you get into Harry Potter?
So I have a terrible memory, but from what I remember as a kid, like so far long ago, somebody just brought it up to me. Like it was a friend that had probably brought it up to me. I don't remember exactly how, but just like I heard about it and they told me that it was about magic, right? Like Harry Potter, and like, you don't know what Harry Potter is? And I was like, I don't know what Harry Potter is. And they're like, oh, it's like about magic. And I was like, oh, magic. I like magic.
Swords and sorcery. I'm sold.
Yeah. I like magic. So I don't know what happened. Like something sparked my curiosity, and eventually I asked my parents for the first book, and they got it for me. And then from then I was hooked. That's history.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing all that. And so, without further ado, we're going to hop into our episode talking. Well, first we got our Quizzitch section. And so, listeners, if you're new here, the thing that I do every single episode is that me and my guests compete in a trivia competition. You know, I keep track of the score all throughout the season, and every book is a season, and usually 2 questions at a time. And at the end, we see who knew more about the book, because I pridefully assert that I am the most knowledgeable Harry Potter fan of all time. And I throw the gauntlet down against the world, and the guests represent the world. And so you got a lot to represent here, Tony.
All right.
At the moment, I'm a little bit out of order. Some of my guests, you know, we've just scheduling things here and there. So at the moment, I don't know what the score is. You know, Future Barry will come back in right here and say the score. The current score, dear listeners, is 15-18, with the guests holding a 3-point lead. So that was the score, everybody. But now we're going to ask each other some questions. So Tony, I will have you go first. We'll do one at a time, and then we'll see what happens. So take it away. What's your first question?
So this is, just to be clear, these are questions from chapter 19, right?
19 and 20. It could be either or, but yes, chapters that cover these 2 chapters, questions that cover these 2 chapters.
Okay. All right.
20 is a very short chapter, so if you didn't have anything from 20, that's fine.
Yeah. All right. So first question is, who knocks Snape unconscious in the Shrieking Shack?
The answer to that question would be Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Hit them with a 1, 2, 3, knocking them out. Thank you. All right. So your question, Tony, would be, what spell does Lupin use to levitate Snape?
To levitate Snape, is that the Mobili Corpus? That's
correct. Ding,
yes.
ding, 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 ding. Mobili Corpus is correct. Good job, Tony. 1-1. All right, awesome. We're keeping it even at the moment. Nothing's changed so far score-wise, but we got 2 more questions, listeners. Tony, what's your next one?
Okay, so let's see. Who cast the spell that forces Scabbers to turn back into Pettigrew?
That would be both Remus and Sirius Black cast the spell.
Perfect.
Yes.
See, I was trying to throw you off with the 2 or 3 people.
Yeah, little tricky ones. All right. Your second question. Whose wand does Peter use to transform back into a rat?
Oh, man. I feel like I totally spaced on that one. I'm going to have to go with Remus.
Remus Lupin is correct.
Okay.
Ding, ding, ding.
Awesome.
Here's the thing. I wish I could be a little more joyous for you, but I know at the moment from the ones I have recorded, I am very far behind. So I was secretly hoping you'd get both wrong. But you did it. Good job.
Yes.
Just for funsies, though, let me give you I had a bonus question, because I always put down a third one in case the guest asks one of the ones I wrote down.
Gotcha.
So just for funsies, let's see if you get this right. What spell does Lupin use to tie up Peter?
It's just a rope binding curse. I don't think it has a name.
Yeah, it does have a name, but it's a rope binding curse is correct, and the name was Ferula.
Oh, okay. Ferula. I was gonna say that.
It kind of threw me off when I read that. I was like, that doesn't sound like a spell.
That's the one? Okay, Ferula. All right.
But very good. So good job. 2-2. Score didn't change at all. So, you know, I'm just happy that I didn't go down, you know, just to make it about me for a second. I didn't lose at all.
You didn't
good
lose.
job, Tony.
Thanks for not giving me that bonus question as a main question.
Yeah. Well, you held your own. You represented the world well. You should be proud. And listeners, You should be proud of your representative. All right. Now, so since this is out of order, listeners, I don't have your question from last week prepared. But Future Barry will chime back in right now to tell you what your last week's question was and the answer to that, as well as a score update. Hello. Score update first. You just heard Tony and I go tit for tat. He got 2 questions right. I got 2 questions right. So the score is 17-20, and we still have a 3-point difference. Oh, and your question last week was, in what year did the Marauders become Animagi? And if you said the answer to that question was their 5th year, then you got that right. Yay! Back to the show. So that's the current score and the update, or in the question from last week. Your question this week, though, listeners, is at one point, Sirius is explaining what happened with Peter when he confronts him on the street all those years ago. And he says that Peter's spell killed everybody within how many feet of them? Within how many feet do people die? So that's your question for this week. A little more difficult. So chime back in. If you want to submit your answers, you can do so at theretoldpodcast@gmail.com or messaging me on Instagram at theretoldpodcast. So there you go. That's our Quizzitch section for this week. And now we're about to hop in, listeners, to the main bulk of our episode, the retellings. That's the name of the pod, Retold. But Tony, I've told you before, I'll tell you again, and listeners, some of you have heard it before, but if you're new, this is how it'll work. I will recap in a hopefully entertaining way everything that happens in these 2 chapters. And Tony is free to chime in whenever he wants. You know, if you hear him cut me off and you think, wow, that was kind of rude. It wasn't rude. All right. He's doing his job. He's doing what I asked him to do. And he's free to interrupt me as he sees fit, chime in, or if he wants to sit quiet for a while, he can do that too. And then at the end of each chapter discussion, we have bonus sections where we talk about our favorite lines. We talk about transfigurations, which are differences that the movies made from the books. And then a golden snitch section where we highlight behind the scenes, deep lore grabs. We do it all again for the next chapter. And then at the very end, we have an extra section called the restricted section, full of spoilers and all that good stuff. So without further ado, Tony, are you ready?
Yep.
Fantastic. Well, let's get it rocking. Chapter 19, The Servant of Lord Voldemort. So in burst Snape with his dramatic little cloak reveal. I loved that because he's just been sitting in the corner this whole time. You know, in the movie, in the movie, it's a little different because he you see him run up the stairs if you pay attention in the background. But in the book, it says he's been just sitting there and he waits for his name to be brought up. And he's like, indeed. Reveals himself. Let's see. I love that this scene is made. I love that this scene is made possible because of both Harry's and Lupin's carelessness, because essentially Harry left his cloak in front of the Whomping Willow. And also when Snape went to give Lupin the draft, I forget what it's called, but the Werewolfsbane potion, that's what it is.
Wolfsbane.
Yeah. He gets to Remus's office and he just sees the Marauders map laid out on the desk. And he's like, dang, you would have think if he knew how it worked, he would have closed it up. But oh well, a plot convenience for thee is a plot convenience for me. And so Snape knows where they all are. He goes after them, finds that cloak. That's convenient too. But he shows up and accuses Lupin of helping Sirius, and he ties him up and he threatens Sirius. And he does also mention that he was trying to give Lupin his potion. And I'm sure that's not important. But Hermione says, hey, maybe we should hear them out. You know, they've been saying some interesting things. Maybe we should listen to them. And he tells her to shut up. And I hate this moment. You know, for everything that follows, Tony, this is like in the fandom a lot, and you're in the fandom. I'm sure you've heard this. There's a lot of like Snape apologists.
Yeah.
And I feel like Snape apologists should only exist in the realm of movie Snape. Yeah. You know, because in book Snape, like movie Snape is very kind in certain moments. At least he's not as bad. Yeah. Book Snape, he gets a little wild.
Oh, man. He gets that, and this is one of the main reasons why I chose these chapters, is because there's so much like hatred coming out of him. And I'm just like, dude, people like Snape, and he's over here telling Hermione to shut up and be quiet and yelling at everybody, like with all his might, going crazy. I'm just like, oh man. Like, yeah,
it's bad. He's excited about murder. So like, just to run through some of these things, like you said, he says, keep quiet, you stupid girl. And that's in all caps, listeners. All right. He meant that.
There's tons of all caps in this chapter.
There really is. Yeah. When Sirius says that he's like, He's super willing to go up to the castle because Snape's like, we're going to take you out of here. And Sirius goes, for sure, I'll go just as long as that boy brings that rat over there. And Snape's like, who said anything about going to the castle? I was just going to drop you off to the Dementors. They won't give you a little kiss. And thinking, I'll take Remus over there too. Why not? 2-for-1 deal. And it's like literal soul removal. And he's hype about that. Even narrator Harry makes a point to say that like when he sees his eyes, he looked beyond reason.
Yeah.
So, and then one of the worst ones too is at the end of Snape's little tirade, near the end of it, Harry kind of stands in his way and is telling him to calm down. And Snape's like, I won't be talked to like that. And he says, it would have been better if Remus had killed you. That's essentially like, because he's saying, they're talking about Remus being a werewolf. And Harry's like, he's not in league with Sirius. He could have killed me so many times.
Yeah.
And he's like, it would have been better. And in fact, you would have like met the same fate as your dad for trusting in Sirius Black. And I was like, gosh, dang.
He's going all out. No breaks. Just you should die. You should die. You should die. Basically.
You can get it. You can get it. You can get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And nobody talks to our main character like that because in that moment, Harry, Ron, and Hermione all body Snape with the triple Expelliarmus. We talked about that in Quizzitch. But I love that. I love all three of them. We're just like, you shut up, and just boom, took him out.
No, I love that because it's like they're all in the same headspace right now. They're like, yo, we got it. Like, this guy's crazy right now. Like, we got to take him out at least for a little bit.
It is like, I remember one of the first few times I read through that, it is kind of, it's almost touching, the violence is, because it's, they all are, like you said, they're all on the same page. The two are upset for Harry, and Harry's upset for his parents. It's wonderful. So anyway, they get Lupin untied, and they say, and Harry's like, start talking, y'all. Sirius says, okay, just give me that rat, and then I'll prove that it's really a grown man. I do like when Ron says, bro, how could you know that my rat is Peter Pettigrew? There are millions of rats. And when he says that, this is one of my favorite parts. Lupin turns to him, and it's just like, yeah, how did you know that? It's just like one of those moments where Lupin does question what he's like, which side he's on. He's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I want to know the answer to that too. But don't doubt Sirius, y'all. He read about it in the newspaper. And we are reminded of the previous encounter with Fudge in the newspaper a few chapters ago, and that all that was left of Peter was a finger. And that's when all the readers were like, dang, that's good writing right there. We all remember that. I also love Sirius defending Crookshanks because at one point, Ron says, they say Harry is reminded that Peter was looking very haggard, like the Scabbers was looking very haggard. And Ron goes, it's the stress because of that stupid cat. And Sirius goes, don't call that cat stupid. That's one of the smartest cats I've ever met in my life.
That's my homie right there.
Yeah, he's been a bro. So Harry does say that Sirius just admitted to killing the Potters. Like, what do you say about that? And that's when Sirius, all sad-eyed, is like, yes, but I was being frustratingly cryptic and self-loathing when I said those things, Harry. It's one of like the wildest things in the previous chapter of like, it was me. It was my fault. I'm the reason they're dead. And it's like on a reread.
If you just given me a straight answer, like we probably could have avoided some of this.
I know. We could have gone much further in the conversation. Anyway, he explains what really happened with the Potters, talking about they switched at the last minute to make Peter the secret keeper. And Lupin says, let's cut the crap, y'all. Let's get down to some brass tacks. Give me the rat. I want that rat right now. And Ron gives him Scabbers. So Sirius and Remus point their wands at Scabbers, and with an alakazoo, alakazam, they turn that rat back into a man. And he's a very mousy-looking man. Makes sense. And this is Peter Pettigrew, obviously. Lupin does his best, hello, Peter. Freaking the Doc Ock moment.
Yeah.
Peter tries to convince everyone that Sirius is still guilty and is now trying to kill him. He knew Sirius would escape one day, and to this, would escape one day and try to kill him, and that's why he went into hiding, which is a fair point. Lupin, in return, says, hold on a minute. How did you know he would escape? Nobody's ever escaped, which is also a fair point. I do like that in this moment, Harry's kind of grossed out, like, because Peter is missing his index finger, he has to point with his middle finger.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah, it's a little call out.
Does he really have to point with his middle finger, or he
use the other hand?
Use his other hand. Yeah, I thought that was funny to even mention that.
Or use the flipper.
Yeah, there you
go. So fair points all around. Peter says, "Yeah, but he who must not be named must have taught him some super dark stuff." Now, I found this next section really interesting. Some of these answers here, because Lupin says, he finds it hard to imagine why an innocent man would want to spend 12 years as a rat. Sirius says that Peter was hiding from Voldemort's followers. And I wanted to read you this part right here, Tony, on when he's explaining that to Peter. There's something that I hadn't caught up on before, but I'll read this section. "You haven't been hiding from me for 12 years, said Black. You've been hiding from Voldemort's old supporters. I heard things in Azkaban, Peter. They all think you're dead, or you'd have to answer to them. I've heard them all screaming all sorts of things in their sleep. Sounds like they think the double-crosser double-crossed them. Voldemort went to the Potters on your information, and Voldemort met his downfall there. And not all Voldemort's supporters ended up in Azkaban, did they? There are still plenty out there biding their time." So anyway, I wanted to read that because I was like, wait a minute. I was not aware that Voldemort's followers knew that Peter was the bad guy. Like, I thought they all thought that it was Sirius, and that they didn't know who the spy was themselves. I thought it was like a secret amongst them. So that was kind of enlightening for me that even though the real world didn't know that Peter was the double crosser, all of the Death Eaters did. Yeah. So it was interesting to me. And then the other thing to point out, very crazy thing, is that Peter drops a Voldy bomb. Yeah, like, because he doesn't say it at first. And in fact, when Sirius says Voldemort, it says like Peter winces. But then I guess he's like trying to build his own case and convince everybody that he's not on Voldemort's side. He says Voldemort's name.
That's a good one. I didn't really catch that, but that's a really good one.
Yeah. He says, "I was innocent but scared. If Voldemort's supporters were after me, it was because I put one of their best men in Azkaban." And I was like, dang, okay. Put his chest out when he said that,
He's got his lawyer on speed dial. Giving him the calls.
Hermione chimes in at this point, and she's like, "Hey, speaking of lawyers, got some follow-up questions. Need some clarification here." She says, if Pettigrew is evil, how come he never tried to kill Harry all these years? All right, he's been right next to him. And number two, if Sirius is good, how could he get out of Azkaban without using dark magic? Good questions, Hermione. Sirius says, easy. For the first one, it's because Peter is a lazy coward. All right. Made me think of Hagrid going like, all right, you can tank Fang, but just so you know, he's a bloody coward. That's Peter's bloody coward moment, because he's like, Peter would only ever do something if it benefited him, and he wouldn't risk anything in front of Dumbledore. And then he says, for the second, it's because I can turn into a doggo and do some sneaking past some Dementors. And he said that when he heard about Peter, it lit a fire in him, because he kind of thought, and again, this is a good point, because somebody might say, if you could turn into a dog and sneak past the Dementors, why didn't you do it sooner? And we're kind of led to believe that he felt he deserved to be in Azkaban, because he convinced the Potters to switch to Pettigrew. But when he heard that Pettigrew was still alive and out there and at Hogwarts, it lit a fire in him, and he wanted to go back after them. I want to read some of those lines later, but they're my favorite lines. So listeners, gotcha. I'm not going to spoil it right here. But anyway, Sirius reassures Harry that he would have never betrayed James and Lily, and they both nod at each other, and it's a really sweet moment, because he looks at Harry and he's just like, I would have never done that. There's a pause. Harry gives him a nod, and I like the writing, because it said, like, Peter took that nod as if it was like the swing of the executioner's blade or something like that. It was signaling his death. So then I wrote, it's a really sweet moment. Not for Peter, though. He hates it. He's like, oh, frick. He goes to every single person in the room and tries to beg for mercy. I like a lot of their reactions, because Lupin's reaction is to just ignore Peter. And it says he looks over Peter's head at Sirius and was like, bro, I'm so sorry. I thought you were the spy. You thought I was the spy. Bro, forgive me, bro. Can we kill this guy now? And it talks about how they're both rolling up their sleeves like, yeah, bro, let's kill this guy.
They're ready to get it over with. They're like, man, F this guy. Like, we just got to get rid of him.
Yep.
Yep.
And then Ron and Hermione's reactions of disgust are very powerful too, because he goes over to Ron like, I was your rat. I was a good rat, wasn't I?
And so
Ron
disgusted.
is just like, just pure disgust on his face. Hermione like yanks her robes away from him like, don't you freaking touch me. And this is one of my favorite moments in the whole Harry Potter series, just the contrast between Sirius and Pettigrew in this scene. So one thing I want to explain kind of listeners is like, I like macho hua type of stuff. You know, I love going to the gym. I play in my little home gym. I'll play like military workout motivation rap video, you know, just have that on the screen. I'm like, yeah, let's get it. But I'm not saying here when I bring up this next point that like all men need to be that way. Of course, masculinity comes in all different forms. But when I picture like an admirable man versus a not so admirable man, like this is what I see. And so I wanted to read this section here, just the sharp contrast between these two. Pettigrew burst into tears. It was horrible to watch. He looked like an oversized, balding baby cowering on the floor. Skipping ahead, don't lie, bellowed Black. You've been passing information to him for a year before Lily and James died. You were his spy. All caps, by the way. He was taking over everywhere, gasped Pettigrew. What was there to be gained by refusing him? What was there to be gained by fighting the most evil wizard who ever existed, said Black, with a terrible fury in his face. Only innocent lives, Peter. You don't understand, whined Pettigrew. He would have killed me, Sirius. Then you should have died, roared Black. Died rather than betrayed your friends, as we would have done for you. That's powerful stuff. You know, just contrasting the man who was, there's one that's literally described as a baby crawling on the floor crying, and who was weak and betrayed his friends out of cowardice. And the other one who says, what was to be gained? Innocent lives. Like innocent lives are worth dying for, Peter. We would have even died for you. Love the contrast there of those two men. So anyway, they're about to kill him, put up both Remus and Sirius lift up their wands to kill him. And then in the last moment before he can be killed, Harry extends Peter mercy. Kind of. He gets in the way and he makes a good point. It's
oh man.
Have you ever seen Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood?
No, I haven't.
No, yeah, me neither. But in the show, there's a point where one character he wants to get vengeance because another character has killed his best friend. And he's about to kill the murderer out of like sheer anger. And all his friends stop him and say, hey, this guy deserves to have justice to be done on him. However, like you should not be the one to do it because you're going to be doing it out of anger. And that's not the state of mind. You should, that will tear your soul apart to do that to somebody else. And that's kind of the vibe I get from this scene. It also makes me think of like the Christian concept of, vengeance. There's a Bible verse that says, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. And Christians are told to not seek vengeance. And that's sort of what I get here in this moment. It's like justice is to be served. Absolutely. And Harry says that, like, we're going to take him to the castle and he'll go to Azkaban. Mm-hmm. But vengeance should not be. And there's a different distinction there. I like that. Very good moment.
I thought it was like still kind of weird because, it's not necessarily Harry the one that's going to kill him. So it's not like his own vengeance. It's like, you're letting somebody else take care of it. So maybe that is justice.
Mayhaps. Yeah. He's like,
unfortunately for Harry, he didn't proceed with letting them handle business.
You know what? Oh, you know what? It's funny. You were talking about, or I was telling you before the episode, I was like, I don't have that much restricted section stuff. I just thought of another one. So that's good. And I need to write them down because listeners will know by this point. Sometimes I'll say that in the restricted section. And then I forget by the time we get there. So bam. All right. So moving on with the chapter. Anyway, they tie Peter up. And I like the warning that Harry gives him because, Sirius gives the first warning of, all right, we won't kill him, but if he tries to change back into a rat, he gonna catch these hands. All right,
Yes.
it's going down, and it says that Harry like lowers his face down to the floor, like eye level with Peter, because he's on the floor, and nods his head like, "Yeah, you can kill him if he does that."
Yeah, after that, go ahead.
I get, you know what? Turn the other cheek, but then after,
Yeah.
I only got 2 cheeks.
After
You
that,
know?
he's gonna be like this.
Hermione says, "What about Snape?" And Lupin's like, "Ooh, yeah, y'all did kind of mess him up. You know, he's all right though. Let's just, you know, what spell do they use again? You remember,
Arula.
Tony? What
Wait.
spell?
For lifting him up,
Yep,
Mobili Corpus.
Mobili Corpus. That's right. Remus is like, we got this. Bing, bam, boom. He's floating
Yep.
in the air. And they drag him along, little unconscious boy. They shackle Peter to Ron and Lupin. I like the commentary about Ron looking like stern-faced, as if like, you know, he has been wronged by this
Yeah.
man. So he wants
Oh,
to help
yeah.
bring him to the cat. And he has. Like, that's terrifying. You've had a grown... I don't even want to get into how awful you could talk about this relationship.
So insane. So insane.
So anyway, yeah, like I said, they shackle Peter to Ron and Lupin. And that's the end of the chapter. Yay. All
Nice.
right.
And that
So-
chapter, it was just like a huge, like first time readers, like huge
Mhm.
info dump. So much back and forth, so much just talking, like giving you details about things in the past and things going forward and stuff like that. I thought it was a really good, like, just like mashup of everything you need to know, like questions answered and things.
Mhm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think too, like something I caught during this read was, you know, I spoke in terms of finality about certain revelations, but there is, I feel like studying it on this read through, for a first time reader, there does still seem to be an air of unsurety about when Peter's making his case, because sometimes he does make good points.
Yeah.
You want to hate him because of the way he's described, and obviously as readers of the series and longtime fans, we know the truth, but there still seems to be some ambiguity of like, even with these revelations, I still don't know who to trust. I'm still not sure.
Totally.
But it is one of like the most incredible chapters of revelation after revelation after revelation. Like, holy crap, that's great
Back
stuff.
to back.
All right, now, listeners, we're moving on to our favorite lines where certain things, Tony, I am a massive fan of like just good one-liners that stick out to me, whether they're funny, emotional, just sound cool. And so that's why we have this section here. I got a few. So if you want, we can just go back and forth until one of us runs out and finish it up. So
Okay, I only got one, so
That's
if you
all
want
right.
to go first, then I go, then you go again.
you go ahead and say your favorite line, and then I'll say mine.
Okay, mine would have to be, I don't reckon my dad would have wanted them to become killers just for you. That one hit me. I was like, oh, just for you. Like, you know, this guy like is not worth it at all.
Yeah, that's a great call out. And I think it goes to a little bit of what we were talking about earlier as far as like seeking out vengeance, because one thing we're told later is that murder is an act that separates the soul. And, you know, I kind of believe that in a way that like, maybe not that phrasing exactly, but obviously I think some part of you is corrupted from doing something like that. I don't think humans are meant to do that to each other. I think it's not a bold statement to make at all, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And to have that on your conscience, to have that tearing you apart, he goes, that's a great call out of, you're not worth that. Like if you were some like powerful person, maybe, but you're pathetic. That's kind of essentially what Harry says there.
Exactly.
Great line.
Yep.
So some of my favorite lines, I'll just fire them off. He was pointing at Black, who shook his head slowly. The sunken eyes were suddenly overbright. Harry, I as good as killed them. And so that's the moment when he goes, you said that you killed my parents. He's like, I as good as killed them. And it is maddeningly frustrating, the phraseology in the previous chapter and then this kind of revelation here. But I do love the sentimentality in that moment of him being like I had an idea that I thought was going to work. I really did think this would be good to make nobody would suspect me making Pettigrew the secret keeper. And I convinced them to do it. And wow, that really came back to bite us. I like that. And then there's this other one. It's a contrast of Lupin's character that we haven't seen before. Shortly after that moment I just read, "Enough of this," said Lupin, and there was a steely note in his voice Harry had never heard before. "There's one certain way to prove that what really happened. Ron, give me that rat." And the "give me that rat" is in italics. And I like that moment describing Lupin as talking in a way he hasn't spoken before, because Harry's only ever known him as this kind, gentle instructor. But here, like, heck, we've learned now that these were all of Lupin's bros, from back in the day, and they've all been killed because of what this guy did. They've either been killed or imprisoned because of what this guy did.
Mm-hmm. He's giving a little bit of Snape right there, commanding.
Yeah. You gonna listen now?
Yep.
Another one. Oh, this might be the best line of the chapter outside of yours, because yours is really good. This is after Peter says, "I was a rat. I was a good rat." And then Sirius, "If you made a better rat than a human, it's not much to boast about, Peter."
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Okay.
Same thing. Just like, this guy is not worth it. He's such a coward. Like, get out of here. All those lines hit.
And I read my other one already. So that's all of my favorite lines for this chapter. Moving on now to our Transfiguration section. And so, listeners, these are differences that the movies made from the books. So by and large, there's a lot of omissions. A lot of these things we never come to learn about.
So many things. This
is the chapter that, when seen in the movie, convinced me that, like, the movies are more so supplementary. If you view them that way as a book reader, you enjoy them a lot. I'm somebody who seeks to enjoy things. I don't want to watch these movies and go, they left this out. They didn't do this. I want to enjoy them. I want to have a good time with them. And I've learned if you just reset expectations, so many things can be enjoyed. But this is the chapter that kind of shows they're a bit supplementary, because they leave out all of the backstory with the Marauders. They don't talk about how they all changed into Animagi and Peter, and switching to Peter at the last moment for the secret keeping. All that stuff is left out. The house being the Shrieking Shack being where Lupin grew up, kind of, or had to go to when he was at Hogwarts. Bit reference to last chapter, but still it kind of carries over here. Another big difference, Snape is also, like, he's pretty calm when he comes into this scene in the movie. Like, he's a little vindictive. Like, he definitely wants Sirius to be punished, but he doesn't come in like guns a-blazing like that. He knocks in the movie. What he does is he comes in the room, does Expelliarmus on Lupin, and has his wand pointed at Sirius, and Sirius is insulting him, and that's when he goes, if I wanted to, I could give you to the Dementors. But it's not like, he doesn't have that air of vindictiveness about him, of wanting to just everybody to suffer.
Yeah.
And there's almost also the moment when, the other difference is that only Harry hits him with Expelliarmus instead of all three of the kids. Harry reaches around Hermione's waist, grabs her wand out of the other side of her pocket, and then, all sneaky like, and then he, it's a weird moment in the movie, because he raises his wand and starts to walk slowly. And the look that Snape gives him is almost like, what are you doing? I don't feel like Snape. I feel like the only justification in his head was maybe he's going to attack Sirius.
Yeah,
sure.
Maybe I'll give him like a couple hits or something. And then it ends up going to him.
Yeah. So that's the other one to call out, is that only Harry does the Expelliarmus. And then Sirius. Oh, in the movie, Sirius takes Scabbers by force. So in the book, he walks over, "Hey, can I have that rat?" And Ron takes some convincing, but he's like, "All right, fine." In the movie, he just goes, "Give me that freaking rat." And he
yanks him out.
Yoinks him. Yeah. And the other one, they place Scabbers down on the piano instead of, in the movie, Remus, in the book, Remus is holding him in his hand. But in the movie, they place him on the piano, and they have that little scene of, like, trying to hit him a whole bunch with the different spell. I wanted to highlight that moment because it made me think of, like, he's holding the rat, does the spell, and that seems kind of dangerous, just to be holding the rat in the hand. And it made me think, I grew up in Kentucky, first few years of my life. I have a very, very country uncle who has like hundreds of acres of land up there. And he was like, I was when I was a teenager, I was riding along with him in his little side by side, and he comes along I think a raccoon or a possum that he had in a trap, and he goes, "All right, boy, you gonna get your first kill now." And he hands me a gun, and he picks up little handgun, he picks up the trap, and he goes to release it. Listeners, I'm terrible with a gun. I never do anything with them. And he picks up the trap, and I hold up the gun to shoot, and he goes, "Not while I'm holding it, boy." I was about to go.
He better shoot his hand.
It's a good thing he said so too, because he dropped it. The raccoon was maybe 10 yards from me. I took one shot. It hit the dirt in front of him, and that raccoon went sprinting. I freaked out. I unloaded the whole clip, didn't hit him once.
Man.
Yeah, we all have these grand aspirations. At least I did of if I, as a man, if I was to be in war, I'd do so good. And then that and like how terrible I am at paintball have convinced me I'd be a liability.
Need some proper training.
Yeah. All that talk
That's
earlier
funny.
about when I picture a real man.
Yeah. All the masculinity is out the window once I have a gun in my hand.
Dude, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, all my European listeners are like, dude, Americans are wild.
Americans and their guns.
And you're right. We are a little wild. That's a different conversation, listeners. So anyway, the other difference I have is that last one is we also don't get the explanation for how Sirius escaped from Azkaban. They kind of just gloss over that he escaped.
Do they talk about in the movie, do they talk about the secret keeper at all? I'm having a hard time remembering.
The only thing that I can remember is I don't think they ever explain what the Fidelius charm is.
Gotcha.
But the only time I think there's potential for it is when they are in when Harry sneaks into the Hog's Head, the Three Broomsticks, and he is listening in on Fudge, Rosmerta, and McGonagall. I think maybe he says maybe McGonagall says the word secret keeper. I'm not positive, listeners, but they never explain the concept.
It's just not in the same time frame that they would say. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, that's pretty much all our transfigurations. So now, moving on to our last section for this chapter, our golden snitch section. Little behind the scenes things I noticed in the chapter. Typically, this is stuff like, hey, a chocolate frog card has said, "Who's that wizard?" So here's some things I pulled out. One was I noticed that it mentioned that when they hit Scabbers with that spell, there was a bright blue glow, and he turned back into a human. And I was like, what's that spell? Listeners, if you look that up, you're going to be a little disappointed, because I typed in spell that turns Animagus, that gets Animagus out of their animal form. And what I got was the spell that turns an Animagus back into their human form is not explicitly named in the Potter series. How helpful. But it is described as an untransfiguration spell. Clever. That manifests as a bright blue light and may require the performance of more than one wizard. This was somewhat interesting, though. Apparently, it's in the Hogwarts Legacy game. I haven't found this spell yet. I love that game. I played it. But apparently in the Hogwarts Legacy game, this spell is referred to as the restoring spell. So listeners, if you want to fact check me on that, send me in some information on at theretailbox@gmail.com. But anyway, that's that one. The other one that I have, as we've mentioned, Mobilicorpus, a spell that's used here. Mobilicorpus was the incantation which was used to move bodies by suspending them a few inches above the air. This spell was able to move people who find themselves unable to walk, regardless of whether or not they are conscious. It may have been a variation of the same basic spell, Mobiliarbus, because they're linked by a base Latin word. Now, one more thing I wanted to highlight here, two things actually. One, this incantation comes from the Latin word mobilis, movable, and corpus, meaning body. But this part was interesting to me. When you look at behind the scenes on the wiki page, it says Mobilicorpus is possibly the incantation for the I'm going to try to say this right, somnambulist charm. And I was like, what is that? So you click on that, dear listeners. And apparently there is a spell. It's called the somnambulist charm that basically makes people sleepwalk. I've never heard of this. I don't know where this comes from. Let me click source because it's, sometimes
It's
the Harry
gotta be
Potter
in a
wiki
game
just be
or something.
wild and
Yeah.
I don't even know. But yeah, it makes people sleepwalk. So that's interesting, I guess. And then the other one is Ferula that we mentioned earlier, which is the bandaging charm. It was a healing charm which conjured bandages and wrapped them around a wound, splintering any broken bones. The bandaging also appeared to ease pain. And that's pretty much all I got. Ferula is a Latin word for rod and refers to a genus of plants belonging to the carrot family. The Romans called the hollow light rod made from this plant the same name, which were used for walking sticks, splints, and corporal punishment. That took a wild turn just there. Helpful corporal punishment. All right then. And then if you want to look up more on that, you can see all that fun stuff, listeners. Moving on now. The last one I had for this one's a little longer. I thought now would be a good time to talk about Crookshanks. Because we've heard about her before, but I don't think we knew the extent of her like intellect and the reasons behind it. I've talked about it in the restricted section, but for all of those who have not finished the Harry Potter series and may leave before we get to the restricted section, you have been unaware of this. Now, listeners, let me inform you. Crookshanks here on the wiki says, obviously we know Hermione Granger's pet cat. She was half Kneazle. He was half Kneazle. You may ask, what does that mean? So you click on half Kneazle. Half Kneazle was a cross between the common cat and a Kneazle. Could have figured that out. They were very intelligent animals beyond that of a normal cat and inherited some of the Kneazle's lion-like features. A cat with Kneazle ancestry whose parents weren't Kneazles would be called a part Kneazle. And so then you may be asking, but Barry, what's a half Kneazle? What is a Kneazle? Don't worry, listeners. I shall tell you. Click on Kneazles. A Kneazle was a magical beast related to, in similar appearance to a cat. It was spotted, speckled, or had flecked fur, large ears, and a lightly plumed tail, akin to that of a lion. They were thought to have separate breeds like cats, and therefore each one varied in appearance. They made excellent pets if they liked the witch or wizard who wanted to own them. Kneazles could interbreed with normal cats and generally had up to 8 kittens in every litter. Kneazle owners were required to be licensed. So I didn't know that. Some people, both wizards and squibs, made a living on breeding Kneazles or part Kneazles. I can't say that. It's a spoiler. There is a person we know in the series who does this. One notable Kneazle, like we said, Crookshanks. And then, last one I thought was interesting. Kneazle whiskers could be used in wand cores, although they were said to make inferior wands when compared with unicorn hair, phoenix feather, and dragon heartstring. The rest of it is kind of restricted section stuff, so I don't want to say that here. But anyway, that's all I got for this chapter. We're going to be moving on to the next one. Before we do, Tony, do you need to take a break?
No, I'm good.
Fantastic. So let's truck along now. Listeners, I had a guest on recently, Tony, and she goes, hey, I've been curious. I've noticed that some of your chapters, like usually in your show, you'd spend a lot longer talking about the first chapter and not as long on the second one. Is that on purpose? I was like, no, typically I think we're just tired or, it's just happenstance.
Yeah.
Listeners, I don't think we're going to have near as much to say. This is one of the shortest chapters in the whole book.
So short.
In the whole
but
series.
I feel like the first chapter makes up for how short this one is. Because the first one that we talked about, 19, is pretty long. Yeah.
Not only long, but also very dense. Like it's just writing something every few sentences in my notes. But now moving on to chapter 20, The Dementor's Kiss. So we get a funny little opening describing their motley crew, and I do like this. I'm going to read it here. Harry had never been part of a stranger group. Crookshanks led the way down the stairs. Lupin, Pettigrew, and Ron went next, looking like entrants in a 6-legged race. Next to them came Professor Snape, drifting creepily along, his toes hitting each stair as they descended, held up by his own wand, which was being pointed at him by Sirius. Harry and Hermione brought up the rear. And then it also talks about, as they go along, Snape's head just keeps kind of hitting the roof of the tunnel as they're leaving.
That part.
And that's just so silly. As they're walking, Sirius and Harry have a quick little conversation that just pulls on everybody's heartstrings, especially given what transpires. But it's this is one of the most amazing moments for Harry. You know, the boy who never gets to live in his happiness. Like happiness is it's just a hope that is shown for a minute that he never gets to actually bask in, kind of. So Sirius is like, hey, I don't know if anybody ever told you, but I'm kind of your godfather. And Harry's like, yes, I heard about it. He's like, well, you know, I was just thinking, you know, if you wanted, it's cool if you don't, but if you wanted, you come live with me, because that's what that means. I mean, your parents said, you know, if they ever died, like they were cool with it if you ever wanted to. No worries if not, but if you wanted to. It's like me when I ask people for help. It's like, hey, I love it if you could. No worries if not, though. But if you want.
Yeah. What
Harry,
got me in that? Sorry, what got me in that in that little part is that let me kill your pull your heartstrings type feelings. It's just like, to me, it was kind of weird looking back at it. I'm like, as a kid, I feel like I would not want to just go with this random person that I just met not too long ago.
It is wild.
And take their word for it. But Harry is just so like, get me out of the Dursleys, that he's like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I would not want to go live with my uncle. Even if he was, you know, even my godfather, I'd be like, I don't know. But if I did have a hard time, you know, and that's me saying that with knowing my godfather and having conversation with him, and
my godfather sucks.
not that he sucks, but like, I wouldn't want to just go. If I was a kid, I wouldn't want to just go live with him. But you know, seeing if I was in a worse situation, I would probably be like, anywhere is better than here. But it's just so weird because of all the allegations that were on Sirius, that I'm like, dude, you're really just gonna go and live with this guy that was just allegedly a murderer? Like,
you haven't been reacclimated to society. I think
this guy just got out of jail. Yeah, exactly.
Might be over here like, I'd love that. Let's see if what you say is true.
Yeah,
all right. You know, give you a little bit of time to readjust, and we'll talk about it in a year.
But no, he's just like, let's do it.
Yeah.
One more thing is that I just thought it was funny that when he asks him, he's like, all right, when he says like, oh, I'm your godfather, he's like, I know. Like, all right. Instead of being like, yeah, I heard so-and-so told me, or blah, blah, blah. I know. Okay.
He's like, it's been a long day. What's your point?
Yeah. What do you want, bro?
You make an incredible point. I think obviously in any other scenario, this is just wild. Yeah. But I think it's only justified in how awful the Dursleys are.
Totally.
That's probably the only reason.
Yeah.
But anyway, they make it back out onto the school grounds. The whole time Harry is just thinking about leaving the Dursleys. He's so hyped about that. He's like, man, it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
I'll get my own room. I might have a TV and all this stuff. I like when he thinks, I wonder what the Dursleys will say whenever I tell them I'm going to go live with that murderer on TV. So they're hyped about that. He's so hyped about that. And they can see the castle lights getting brighter and brighter. You know, it's like things are going great. Things are going well.
Yeah. And
then it happens. The clouds part, revealing the full moon. And everybody's like, frick.
Yeah.
How could we forget? It was just like 10 pages ago that somebody said he forgot his potion.
Yeah.
I do like, there's a little comical moment where it says, like, Lupin is stock still, just standing there. And Peter, Ron, and Snape all like run into him. It's very like cartoonish as in that moment. Anyway, Remus transforms and all heck breaks loose. Sirius tells Harry and Hermione to run. Cool Harry moment where he's like, no, that's my bro. I got to go get him. And Sirius like, shut up, kid, and throws him back.
Get out of
here. Sirius turns into doggo mode and he jumps at him. And so both of them in full doggo mode just attacking each other. Peter picks up whose wand, Tony?
Remus.
That's right. Ding, ding, ding. And he skirts on it. Oh, he turns back into a rat and he skirts on out of there. Where Lupin also runs off and Harry tells Dog Sirius that Rat Peter has escaped. And then I also wrote in my notes, poor Crookshanks, because when Peter was getting out of there, just for kicks and gigs, he just tossed that cat up in the air, slammed it back down on the ground. I'm like, aw, poor Half-Kneasel. Anyway,
Catching strays. Yep.
yeah. Harry and Hermione take one look at Ron and they're about to help him, but then they hear a dog yelp and they're like, "Ooh, sorry, Ron, we're out of here."
Yeah.
I do love that moment.
You're a lost cause. Let me go get somebody else.
Yeah. I do appreciate Harry's, like, I guess you could call it battle sense, in a way, because he's like, there's nothing I can do for him in this moment. He's unconscious. Like, the only thing that could hurt him is this Whomping Willow right here, and he skirts off to go help.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Yeah. So they go to the lake, and they're Sirius in human form, and he's being attacked by Dementors. And it says at least 100 Dementors. Mm-hmm. And I always keep remembering, like, in the Quidditch match earlier this book, there were 100 Dementors on the field, which I was shocked by that on this read through. Like, oh, how did 100 get on the field?
Yeah.
But there's at least 100 Dementors. And I wrote in my notes, probably the same ones from the Quidditch match. The Dementors all turn around and they're like, they see Harry and they're like, "Hey, we remember you. You're the only seeker that lost a Hufflepuff. Ha ha." So
I thought you were going to go with, "You're the only one that tasted good," or like that, like, I remember having a taste of that.
Ooh. No. They probably are thinking that, because I want to say spoiler section stuff. Hang on, listeners, we'll get there. So they go over because they want to give Harry a little kiss, and he tries to do Expecto Patronum, and he's thinking about Sirius the whole time. It's not working. He's like, "I get to leave the Dursleys. Sirius is innocent. I get to leave the Dursleys." There was a moment, when he tells Hermione, "Think of a happy thought," and I forgot that, he a few sentences later tells her to cast the spell Expecto Patronum. And so when I first read the line, "Hey, think of a happy thought, Hermione," I thought, oh my gosh, he's using her for bait.
Oh my God.
That's what I thought was going on for a minute. But anyway, he's trying to do the Patronus. It's not working. Hermione passes out. There's a sick moment where he's casting the Patronus. It says just a light little shimmer goes out, and just the description of the Dementor's scabby hand that creeps out and just swishes the Patronus aside.
Yeah.
Oh, that was sick. And this is really like one of the best horror sequences I feel in the series, the way that it's written. One, Harry gets to finally see what's under the Dementor's hood, because earlier in the book, Lupin says nobody that's ever seen it is in a state to tell us, because they've been kissed. But I will read this right here. White fog was blinding him. He had to fight Expecto Patronum. He couldn't see, and in the distance he heard a familiar screaming, Expecto Patronum. He groped in the mist for Sirius and found his arm. They weren't going to take him, but a pair of strong, clammy hands suddenly attached themselves around Harry's neck. They were forcing his face upward. He could feel its breath. It was going to get rid of him first. He could feel its putrid breath. His mother screaming in his ears. She was going to be the last thing he ever heard. And that's horrifying. Like, the part that really stood out to me the most was the both hands around his throat. Because like, they do that in the 5th movie, but not in the 3rd. And in the 3rd, he's much younger. And that would have looked so much more terrifying.
Totally.
He looked a little more mature in the 5th movie, but just he's a child in this one. And those awful hands gripping, it's absolutely horrifying.
Yeah. And just reading that as a kid too, like you're as a kid, your imagination is even more, prevalent. So you're probably making things up in your mind. You're like, oh my God, like what's going on here?
They got my boy Harry. He's done for.
Yeah. At this moment, you probably think it's done for real. Yeah.
Yeah. We about to be the freaking Ron Weasley and the Goblet of Fire next book, But all of a sudden, there's a bright light, and what appears to be a galloping animal, bright as a unicorn, drives all the Dementors away at the last minute. Harry looks at it, and he sees a person petting the animal and thinks the person looks slightly familiar. And then he passes out. And that's the end of the chapter. Yay!
That's the end.
All right. Now, that's all we got for that chapter. Moving on now, listeners, to our favorite lines. So this time around, I only had 2. What about you? What you got?
I had 2 as well.
Fantastic. So you go first, and then we'll bounce back and forth again.
Well, I don't know. Is it a line? I guess so. the part where Snape is getting his head bumped. So it goes. He kept bumping his lolling head on the low ceiling, and that was just like, it was just so funny to me, like that he just could care less and it was just letting him just
bonk,
boom,
bonk,
boom, boom.
bonk. One of my favorite lines here is just a little bit after that one, after Sirius and Harry, like at the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
Sirius turned right around to look at him. Part of your part, Snape's head was scraping the ceiling, but Sirius didn't care. You want to? He said. You mean it? Yeah, I mean it, said Harry. Sirius' gaunt face broke into the first true smile Harry had seen upon it. The difference it made was startling, as though a person 10 years younger were shining through the starved mask. For a moment, he was recognizable as the man who had laughed at Harry's parents' wedding. I freaking love that. I love that so much. I'm such a big fan of just seeking out things that make you laugh, that make you happy. You know, one of the things that my wife and I do is typically every night before bed, no matter, like, I always like to put on just some dumb little thing on the TV that makes us laugh, that makes us happy. And that's how we end the day. Nice. I love the guy. I'll never understand seeking out like watching horror movies and all these types of things. Listen, I'm not yucking your yum. That's your cup of tea. Fantastic. But the power of laughter, the power of joy in this moment, to turn the clock, like literally turning the clock back on Sirius, to make him younger and more handsome and just more full of life, I think is the point. So I love that line.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
What's your other one?
My second one is the part where he says, "You're free," which just comes right after, like, you know what that means. And then he goes, and then Harry goes, "You're free." Yeah. And then he's like, "Yes." Like, and that just to me is like, oh, dang, like that, it hit, because it's like, yeah, like if everything works out, like he's free, he doesn't have to go back. Like, it's just such a beautiful moment where he comes to that realization, like, I'm good. I'm safe. If, you know, if all goes good.
I get it. Yeah. I had a family member who was like wrongfully imprisoned for years.
Really?
Like, and whenever he was finally released, I remember like my family was like dancing in the kitchen. We were just full of joy. It's like, holy crap, it's happening. He's free. It's just glorious. So I relate heavy to that one. My last one, I did say it in earlier, but he felt dazed. What would happen when he told the Dursleys he was going to live with the convict they'd seen on television? Just because that was so silly. But yeah, that's all my favorite lines for that chapter. Now, moving on, listeners, to our Transfiguration section. Transfiguration. So the first one, I wrote down the conversation between Harry and Sirius in the movie gets cut short. So here, they complete it of like, Sirius goes like, you know, in the book he says, I can understand if you wouldn't want to, but Harry goes, heck yeah, would love to. And they're like, you know, they high five. Yeah. In the movie though, all we get is like Sirius goes, I can understand if you wouldn't want to. And then all crap breaks loose behind them before Harry can like reassure him, no, I'd love to. And that's kind of sad. So anyway, that's one of them. Also, Lupin, this isn't as clear of a one, but Lupin does seem more like a more humanoid in the movie. You know, in the book, it's described as much more werewolf, much more dog-like. But in the movie, the creature that they use for a werewolf is very humanoid. Odd-looking creature. Gets a lot of, I hear it get made fun of a lot, but I don't know. It was very creepy as a kid. Worked for me, I guess. I hated it in the Game Boy Advanced Prisoner of Azkaban video game. Fighting the Lupin werewolf was awful. I spent hours and hours trying to defeat that sucker. So I did grow to hate that guy. In the film, they also leave Snape behind. You know, in the book, they bring him out with them, but he's left behind. And then when all heck breaks loose, he actually protects the kids. You know, when there's a moment in the book we just described, Sirius attacks werewolf Lupin and they kind of go at each other and then they run off. But in the movie, Harry throws a rock and hits werewolf Lupin on the head, and he goes to attack them, but Snape gets in the way and like protects them. And so, like I was saying earlier, movie Snape, admirable dude in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I wrote down the thing. Oh, another one is that there is another dog's howling voice. Something akin to that, at least, happening in the movie when the werewolf is about to strike them, and that causes Werewolf Lupin to run off. But in the movie, but in the book, like we said, he just runs off of his own accord. And then last one I have is Ron and Crookshanks do not get thwacked. You know, in the book, Peter gets them both, but in this one, in the movie, nothing happens. We don't even really see Crookshanks in this moment. Actually, he's kind of omitted from these scenes.
Yeah.
And that's all I got for Transfigurations. So now moving on to Golden Snitches. And listeners, you wouldn't believe it. I feel a little bad. This is the first time I don't have a Golden Snitch from the chapters. However, I know, because that was such a short chapter and so many things have already been mentioned.
Yeah.
But I did think of something to highlight to you guys. So earlier in the season, I had Evelyn and Peter from Wizarding House Common Rooms on Instagram. And at the end of the episode, we stopped recording and we're just chit-chatting, talking about the podcast. And she goes, "Oh my goodness, I meant to mention this to you. Last season, Tony, I had an episode with another Harry Potter podcast called The Fox and the Foxhound. And one of the hosts on that episode says, it's kind of weird how it talks about Hagrid was raising werewolf cubs under his bed in Chamber of Secrets. Tom Riddle mentions that when Hagrid was in school, he was raising werewolf cubs. And he goes, wouldn't that just be babies who turn into werewolves once a month? And we were all like, whoa, that's weird. So creepy. Well, fear not, listeners, because as Wizarding House Common Rooms highlighted to me, that was not the case. Apparently, there's a special addendum to werewolf cubs. Apparently, and so this was in the, that audiobook that came out with the girl that voices
Ivana Lynch.
Ivana Lynch.
Yes, I know.
Wizarding Archives, the Wizarding
Yes.
Archives.
Yes.
Yeah. So that came out. I even listened to it and I just forgot about this, but this is mentioned in there. So one curious feature of lycanthropy, which is turning into werewolf, is that if two werewolves meet and mate, listeners, all right, let's keep it appropriate, at the full moon, the result of the mating will be wolf cubs that resemble true wolves in everything except their abnormally high intelligence. They are not more aggressive than normal wolves and do not single out humans for attack. Such a litter was once set free under conditions of extreme secrecy in the Forbidden Forest at Hogwarts with the kind permission of Albus Dumbledore. The cubs grew into beautiful and unusually intelligent wolves, and some of them live there still, which has given rise to stories about werewolves in the forest. Stories none of the teachers or the gamekeeper has done much to dispel because keeping students out of the forest is, in their view, highly desirable. And so there's talks of a wolf pack going around in the woods. But yeah, so essentially, if two werewolves during their time they mate and they have werewolf babies, they're really just wolves. They're just really smart wolves. Yeah, just super smart wolves. That's it. So some
Twilight wolves.
Yeah, I guess so. So there is your kind of restricted section, Golden Snitch section, listeners. That's all I got. So that's pretty much it for the normal part of our episode now. So we're going to be moving on just a second to our restricted section, our prison of Azkaban, as it were, for this book. All right, the Dementor is about to take us away. All right, they're going to be sucking all the happiness out of us here in this section. But if you are innocent, if you have not committed the crime of reading further into the books, listeners, you do not deserve this ghastly punishment. Get on out of here. But before you do, thank you for listening this week. Looking forward to seeing you, having you back next week. Make sure you go and check out Tony's channels. All right. AguamentiYT on Instagram and really all those socials. And on YouTube, just AguamentiYT, right?
Yep. Perfect.
Fantastic. So check out his channels. We love good content, and listeners, he makes it. So moving on now to our restricted section. All right. So like I said, Tony, I don't have that much listeners, I'll be curious to see how long the timestamp is for this one. But just a few things. One is that at the end of the second chapter we covered, who does Harry see on the other side that seems somewhat similar? We know that it's him. My question to you, when you find out that reveal, did it make sense to you? Did it seem kind of conjured up, convoluted, or contrived is the word?
Yeah. When I first read it, obviously I am trying to think back to when I first read it. I was
good luck.
I feel like I do remember reading it because it was so weird to me. Like it was just like, what do you mean that it was him? Like, I don't understand what's going on. But obviously you don't find that out till later. But now, going back and rereading it again, it's just like it's very poetic. I would say
it was in him all along.
Yeah, it was in him all along, and it's beautiful that his Patronus ended up being a stag to resemble his dad, and all the Marauders were there.
And that's the other thing we should mention too, is that who he believes it to be, and he says in the next chapter, is his dad. That's because he looks like you, Harry, silly guy. All right. But I do like his reasoning in the next chapter. As you just said, he's like, all of my dad's old bros were out to play that night. What was it at the end of the book when Dumbledore says something along the lines of like, I think Prongs walked again on the Hogwarts. It's something like that. It's like, stop it, Dumbledore. You're getting me. The other thing to call out was, I remember I stopped reading the Harry Potter books for a long time after, I had my initial burst when I was in elementary school, and then middle school and high school went by, and I kind of didn't touch them too much. I mainly was just a movie watcher. It wasn't until college that I got back into it, and I got back into it hard, as evidenced by a podcast. But one thing that struck me as just wild was when we get to this point in the book, I'm like, holy crap, there's like 30 minutes left in the book. Because I was listening to it on Audible. I'm like, how the heck are they going to cover all of the timey-wimey stuff in just this small, it's 2 chapters left. That's all that's left in this book is 2 chapters. And it's just wild that she does all of the time travel
so fast
in 1 chapter.
Yeah.
That's all that takes. That's crazy to me. Just crazy. And the last thing, so you mentioned this, or this was the thing that you recalled to my memory. It's like, we hate that justice was not done on Peter when he gets away. But there is a call out later, Dumbledore mentions, and again, it's one of those funny, just kind of JK was just like, why not? Let's throw this in there. But Dumbledore mentions that when one wizard saves another wizard's life, there's something of a contract that forms between them. And that does go on to save Harry later in the book. And so I remember when I was reading the 7th book, there's a moment when they're trapped in Malfoy's cellar, and Pettigrew is about to kill them, but instead he ends up taking his own life. But it's in a way that is, there's a lot that going on. He has the silver hand given to him by Voldemort. And I always remember thinking, like, why did that happen? And then rereading this book, I was like, oh, wait a minute. That's why that happened, because Dumbledore called it.
From all the way back here to the 3rd book, being brought up in the 4th book by Dumbledore. And then he says something like, I don't think Voldemort would appreciate that you sent him a servant that's in debt to you.
Yeah. Good call.
And then in the 7th book, Harry brings it up. He's like, you owe me. And at that point, at his hesitation.
That's right. Yeah. It's a wild, it is one of the most gruesome scenes, I feel like, in the series. It hits you out of left field. Like, she could write that in here? Yeah. That's allowed?
Is this TV PG?
That's right. So that's really all the restricted section stuff I have. Did you have anything that you would want to talk about here? Any spoiler related stuff or things that were coming to mind that you were holding back?
I mean, I think that's the biggest spoiler is the fact that the life debt goes all the way to book 7. And it just how it just comes up back, like
comes back around
to the very end. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like the biggest one.
I was a little like, I was a bit removed from Harry Potter fandom when this was coming out, being a kid who I wasn't really on the internet much at this time. Unlike all of us now, I think we all everybody. Anytime with my favorite like anime or books coming out or TV shows, I'm always looking at the fan theories. I love that crap. But I couldn't really do it at the time, freaking dial-up connection. And one of the theories that I heard was that, because Harry says he thought that he saw his dad. At least we'll say that at this point he says somebody similar to him. And one of the theories that I heard that was going around was that his dad was still alive, because we know for a fact that Lily dies because that's the protection that's given to him. Yeah. But it's not until, I'm trying to remember when it is that Harry actually has the vision of Voldemort killing his father. Might be in the 7th book. I'm not exactly sure when, but it's not until then that it's actually absolutely confirmed that Harry's dad does die. And so apparently there was a big fan theory going around at the time. James could still be alive and he's out there somewhere and he's going to reappear one day. So I enjoyed that and I thought that would have been interesting, but I still think one of the things that I like to do, I defend James Potter because people will bring up his bullying. And I was like, however, he did die to save his family. And I feel like that trumps the other stuff. But anyway.
That's funny. That's a good one. I never really looked into the fan theories just because if for whatever reason one of them was true, I didn't want to be spoiled.
True.
So I just stayed off of theories and when the books were coming out, as they were coming out, like I just made sure, like, if I knew somebody was reading Harry Potter, I would not talk to them because I don't know if I didn't know if they were ahead of me, behind me. Like not until I was done, I was comfortable talking about it, looking into it or anything. Yeah.
That is something that is a bit upsetting now, given the way that social media works. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a person that says, oh, I hate social media. Like I said, I like to enjoy things. Yeah. However, when new things come out, if I don't obsessively consume it, I feel FOMO.
Gotcha.
Other people have read through the whole thing or they watched all 10 episodes that just released on Netflix the night it came out. Yeah. I got to know what happens. So I don't know. I think we were blessed in the time that we were when Harry Potter came out to not have 100%. To consume it that way.
If there was another book that came out around this time, literally within the release date, it would be spoiled. People were doing that with Hogwarts Legacy. The game came out and people literally a couple hours later already spoiling the ending to the story of Hogwarts Legacy.
Really?
Yeah.
I missed that part of it. I would look up just walkthrough videos sometimes, but not walk through the story, but walk through the grounds. I love having those on. But dang it, people. Keep it secret for us. I will say, though, I am somebody that looks up spoilers.
You are?
I do that. And I can't handle it. I'm like, I gotta know.
I'm always telling my girlfriend, I'm like, she's like, I have a question about this. I'm going to look it up. I'm like, why are you going to look it up if you're going to see spoilers? I don't care. Whatever. I'm like, man, it just, I don't know. I can't, I'd rather just sit there, watch the whole thing and then I'll go and look. But she loves to look as she's watching.
Yeah. The worst part about it for me is that and this is the reason why I try to not look them up anymore. Not because it affects my enjoyment of the story being told, because I'm a much bigger fan of the ride than necessarily the ending. However, it's gotten to the point where I'm like, I want to tell my wife what happened. I'm sitting there like, you gotta know. This guy says this really cool thing when this happens. Do you want to hear it? But you gotta have the context for it to make sense. And I'm a terrible person, listeners. Terrible person. I need to get better.
He's the spoiler.
But anyway, that's all we got for this week. Tony, thank you so much for being on. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Barry. I had a great time. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, listeners, thank you for listening. Looking forward to seeing you next week for, and it just hit me when I said it earlier, the final 2 chapters of this book. Holy crap. Hopefully at this point I will have caught up in Quizzitch. I might cry. But oh, one thing too to say to listeners is I want to do in our best of book 3, I want to do a mailbag episode. So please send in emails, questions, comments that you have for me, anything you want to share, owls or owl post, howlers, whatever. Send it all in and we'll potentially read that off on our best of book 3 episode. Anyway, that's all we got. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Retold. Artwork for this podcast was created by Rachel Ortlip. Music was created by Taylor Jarvis. And the Retold podcast is produced by me. That's right. I made this.